You mentioned about gender politics in music, and I'd love to hear more about like your interest in this now, and it being such a huge topic, and what particularly you would like to be seeing more of in music when it comes to gender politics.
I guess, yeah, I identify as a female, and I'm surrounded by a lot of people that either identify as female or non-binary artists, which in the broader scheme of the artistic world is actually quite rare to be surrounded by producers and instrumentalists that are female and non-binary. I think when we look to the broader industry, it's actually really alarming how far we are from any kind of sense of, an equal playing field, or like, particularly with production and instrumentalists, there is still such a huge gap. Like in the UK 2 years ago, it was only 3% of the music that was charting was produced by women. And that's
Wow.
horrendous. And then you take a further glance out to behind the scenes, to management, booking agents. It's starting to change now as industry is becoming aware that if they want to work with the women and non-binary people, then they have to know how to communicate. And a lot of the time that means getting women behind the scenes as well. And I think that is a serious gap in the industry. And that is where there's so much room for improvement, is of course, there's plenty of female and non-binary singers, but it's these other roles that really need to change so that people can feel safe, so that people can express themselves, so that people can push their potential, so that we can hear different sounds, And I'm really interested in that. And that is a large part of why I chose to produce my second album. I mean, kind of. It also kind of wasn't a choice, because I knew what I wanted to hear, and I just am a nerd. So I just went in really deep. But I think it was important to me as well, because the album is very much about my experience in my body, in the world, as a, queer woman, that I produced it myself. And I guess I really want to see change in the industry. Is actually, because it's not regulated like any other business industry. We just need to make change collectively and as communities. So, yeah, I want to see change.
Yeah, you said it more behind the scenes as well. Do you want to elaborate on that? Like, do you feel, do you mean from all other aspects of the music industry to see more of this change as well? I guess because of the ripple effect that having people in these positions that are conscious and aware of gender and gender politics, then there's that ethos and compassion and awareness of what's required, and so yeah, just tell me more, like, what specific sort of roles would you like to see these changes?
I think the industry as a whole needs to change, I think, in terms of its awareness around the experience of the artist and how we can better serve each other. They've done so many studies recently, and a lot in the UK actually, around mental health in music. And I think this conversation is a large part of that. And I think, as you're saying, a greater sense of empathy and understanding for each other. Not that that's necessarily a female role, but I think if people are aware of the fact that we need diversity behind the scenes, then maybe they're more aware of the fact that diversity might allow somebody to feel safer or more included. And then again, like this ripple effect, it's just about like actually taking a look at what is happening behind the scenes and how to change the culture is a really big one. And, like I've worked with so many record labels, for example, that are pretty well all run by men. And I think about if all of the men are the ones kind of doing the work to select what tunes are released into the world, then what are we missing out on? Like as a community and as a culture.
That's a good point.
That's just like one example. And you can take that further and further out. Like you can extrapolate that same idea and take it further outwards. What are we missing out on as a community and a culture, emotionally, musically, socially, culturally, psychologically? Like, what are we not getting energetically because these power roles are dominated by men predominantly? I think about that a lot.
I mean, why do you think? I guess we from an independent music level, we would need to see more female, non-binary people getting being self-starters and opening up their own labels. Are you seeing more of that? Are you seeing trends like that happening?
Yeah, I think particularly in management roles, actually, which is really great. I'm not so sure about the labels. Like, I think it is definitely changing, and I think you're right. It is at a community level more so than like a Sony BMG. I mean, I don't know. I have no contact with that kind of world.
Sure, yeah.
But it seems to be like a change like this often occurs at a grassroots level, and it often occurs here, and then it allows people to speak up to people like Sony or whoever it is, And I think it is definitely starting to change. And I think talking about why it's important really, like pushes people to make those changes, that it will serve everyone. Yeah.
And I've also noticed as well, like from a race point of view, there is the big organizations, whether they're labels or big management companies, festivals, that they're being more proactive in inclusion with race and also gender. And like, do you find like with with race, there's that whitewashing, so like that kind of same thing with gender, where people want to look like they're being culturally responsible, but they just want to look like the part, and are they actually really doing their part? Have you experienced that kind of action, or that kind of approach? I mean, whatever it is, it's still a good thing.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing that people are being proactive and making change, but also, from the people coming from the wrong reason, like they just want to be looking like they're doing the right thing,
Yeah, I think that, it feels like you're getting at this idea as well that like the intersection of capitalism entering into community spaces, what seemed to me to be community spaces, and art is just like so complicated and problematic on so many levels. And, as someone that makes soul, R&B, jazz, black music, I've definitely recognized in myself that I've had moments of really trying, I think is also, problematic to some degree, of like trying to do the work, but not quite maybe getting it. And there is this awkwardness of trying to be more inclusive and trying to create diversity and trying to do all these things when, like I think just allowing more space to be taken up by people of color or like a wider age demographic or for women, and just like creating opportunity rather than like trying to do something. It's a very fine line. And I think especially when money gets involved and people start to see the dollar signs before they see the person is like very problematic. And I guess, and it's also just like part of this system that we're creating within. And I think, yeah, like there definitely does seem to be change happening, and it will feel awkward, I think, in the same way that like I feel often tokenized sometimes as a female DJ or producer or artist. But sometimes that's just how it has to go for people to learn and for people to see other women doing the thing or see other people of color doing the thing so that they are inspired to also know that they can. Yeah, I mean, it's really challenging and uncomfortable. And I think it's like really important that people see the discomfort and continue to step in and allow themselves to get it wrong. They will get it wrong. I've gotten it wrong so many times. And that we allow space for that as a community, I think, is like also important. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. Like being able to feel that discomfort and embracing that discomfort as rather than being a negative thing, because and I think that's what people shy away from, is that they get scared of that discomfort, and so they like want to stick to what they know and stay in comfort. And so it's like getting through in any change, you've got to go through some discomfort for change, right?
Yes,
and
100%.
for progress to happen, So I like that. It's being compassionate with change and being compassionate with discomfort.
Yes. That is so nice.
Very cool.
Being compassionate with change.